Good morning, and thank you once again for joining me this Thursday morning on Voluntary Virtues with the Conversation with Kelly Diamond. You can catch me every Thursday at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Time, 9:30 Eastern, as well as my written word every Monday at globalwealthproduction.com. Okay, so today's episode is about faith in government. And I must say it does take quite a bit, probably a lot more than I'm capable of. But a couple of things happened over the course of maybe a couple of weeks where it kind of got me thinking about that. We hear it a lot, almost as an anarchist platitude, that statism is the most dangerous religion. And when you actually lay it out and you actually make the case to somebody, it does start to sound eerily like a religion. And two things happened. One was that I got into an exchange with a young law student who seems very enthusiastic about their career choice. And another was that I got into a really short discussion, exchange really on his thread with my pastor back from college. And it was interesting because his question was fairly generic, how is it that that Christian conservatives can't seem to keep their case with, keep in line with the Bible, and the future generations are deviating away politically and all this. It kind of like how do you reconcile the, children kind of staring away from not being able to make the case for, conservative values and Christian values and how they sync up and whatnot. And, I had simply posted that it isn't for, if you're a person of faith, then it's not for you to put God in your political box, but more to ask issue by issue, what side would God be on given what you believe of his character. I left it at that. I went on a little bit, but that's not the point. So, and I said, but I consider myself an anarchist, not a conservative. I used to be a conservative, but I consider myself an anarchist mainly because the government seeks to supplant the place of God in society for me. And when you think about it, the state calls for worship through its songs and its pledge. It calls for sacrifice through its wars. It calls for tithe through its taxation. And it calls for a form of leadership and has a church, has its own Vatican City. And it goes about trying to judge and condemn people who basically just go about the business. And it is truly the culmination of every evil thing that a human could be capable of. Serial killing, raping, all done under this collective guise. It's done. Thieving. The most violent of crimes are perpetrated by the state. I mean, the greatest polluter is the United States government in the world. The United States government is the largest polluter. It is the greatest criminal when allowed to get to the state of juggernaut like the United States. And so why would I go to its altar and praise it or devote myself to it or pledge my allegiance to it? Several denominations of Christianity don't. They outright refuse. Quakers and Jehovah's Witnesses being among them, the more notable ones. They don't participate in any politics. They don't vote. They don't run for office. They conscientiously object. Well, Quakers do run for office, obviously. Nixon, right? But by and large, they stay out of it. It's for a reason. For a very good reason. It was funny because I had Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door once and explain that to me, and I was delighted to hear that part of their faith practice. So, I'd gotten into that exchange, and I said, but in the end, it requires a tremendous amount of faith in its system that it will generate something good, right? I mean, if you look at how a lot of people of faith talk, we walk by faith, we trust that God, has got our back, blah blah blah, and this is not about whether you believe in God or whether you find it to be logical or not. It has nothing to do with that. But if you listen to that type of rhetoric, if you listen to those, if you read some of the things that they say, this is what their faith is. Their faith is that, things will ultimately work out okay, that type of thing. Well, it's one thing to say that empirically about your life and say, yes, throughout my, I've had several tumultuous experiences in my life and God has seen me through. People have said that. People do say that. I don't know if I could ever say that about the state. I think I could never say that about the government. Oh, well, we were going through some tough times and the government got us through it. No, not a single politician has ever solved a single problem that didn't replace it with something bigger. FDR is credited for ending the Great Depression. Well, we all know that's patently untrue. There's actually no historical evidence to suggest that that's what he did. In fact, he exacerbated it first. Went from 11% unemployment to 25% unemployment first. Then he was like, well, the only other option is we got to go find ourselves a war. Because none of my programs are working. None of my ideas are working. Oh my gosh. I mean, it takes an unbounded amount of faith in this system. Which brings me to my interlude with the starry-eyed law student who suggested that it was rather unfortunate that people aren't as diligent and seem rather passive about defending their rights. And that's where I get kind of, I don't know, I can't condemn somebody in practice for not being an ideological purist, because practically speaking, unless you're willing to throw your life away, or at least take the risk of doing so, that sort of activism could result in you just disappearing. I mean, truly. If I were to truly live out all of my anarcho dreams, right, and I was an ideological purist in every way, in practice, right, I would be dodging every single tax. I would be, I would take the plates off of my car and shred my driver's license, and I would do this. And it's not to say that it can't be done. It can, and there are people who have, and I don't deny them that that success, but I don't believe it's for everybody. I am intrigued by the idea of being able to use the state's rules against itself. I am intrigued by that. I'm certainly not opposed to it. I mean, certainly in self-defense, we don't start criticizing how a person defends themselves. Okay, I've read stories and heard stories about people who, people who were nearly raped. Nearly, they were attacked, and and the guy wanted to rape them. It made it very clear. And this one woman got on her knees, started barking and eating grass. Made herself out to be so batshit crazy. The guy got freaked out and left. Who the fuck am I to criticize the fact that worked? Does it work for everybody? I don't know. I don't think so. But it worked for her. And if it worked, it worked. That's the end of the story, right? We don't sit here and nitpick how somebody defends themselves. So if you defend yourself, and part of defending yourself is using the very rules that the state created against itself, and you know how to do that, and you can do it right, And I would say, good for you. Go keep on doing that. What's funny is that I don't see any lawyers doing this, which is weird. Even the starry-eyed ones, supposed to know your rights. Why are lawyers who make it their business to know the law, who pick a specific corner of it, and none of them sit there and argue that the things that are supposedly enshrined in our laws. So, for example, we don't have, there's supposedly, I'm not 100% sure. I've seen some stuff on it, but I don't know how it works. But, the idea that no state really actually requires private citizens who are traveling to have a license or registration, and that none of the actual street laws apply to them. Those are all corporate laws. Those are all commercial laws. None of that has to do with being a private citizen going from A to B, going about your business. Driving, as defined by the law, is not me jumping in my car and going to the grocery store. Driving is a commercial act where you're doing this, you're shipping freight, you're a taxi service, you're a delivery service of some sort. You're not just going and running errands. So the person who's just traveling and running errands and going about their business, that person is not commercially driving. They're traveling. And so there is an exemption for that, and apparently it exists in almost every state. But nobody's able to argue that, except for a few sovereigns. Lawyers don't know this. No lawyer knows this. If lawyers knew this, they could be profiting off of this, but they don't. I imagine there might be a political reason why they don't. That's the only thing I could think of. But nonetheless, that shows a tremendous amount of passivity on the side of the fucking lawyer. It's not I didn't go to law school. I don't sit down and read the law. It's boring as fuck. I didn't even vote for half this shit. I didn't vote for any of this shit. But I'm passive because I'm not going to sit down to one of, to a room full of fucking books surrounding how I can live free if I just do, seriously, it's like playing one of those video games where they have those secret moves where if you combine the buttons just right, you uncover and release a certain power, and that helps you defend yourself against your mortal enemy in that episode. I'm meant to go sit down and read that book because all the secret moves of a game. At least these gamers are interested in the shit. I have no fucking interest or time to sit down and learn the minutiae and intricacies of the law to see if I can defend myself against a $200 ticket or $400 ticket for that matter. So then you say, well, there's people who do this. Oh, really? Who? Lawyers. No, they don't. No, they don't. If they did, then they would know about all of these various exemptions and all these various loopholes. These civilians are writing these books. Civilians are looking up the case law and looking up the codes in each state and writing books about it. Same with tax exemption. This isn't, there's people writing books, civilians, not lawyers, who are writing books about how to legally live tax-free. This is happening. Lawyers don't write these books. Lawyers don't roll this shit out. They're not making a name for themselves helping people work the system. So when I hear somebody say that I'm passive about my rights, I would say, right, but I'm not paid $300 a month to give a shit, $300 an hour to give a shit. There are people who make it their careers to give a shit about my rights who don't. Telling me, the person who did not dedicate her life to learning the law, but learned an entirely different trade, that I didn't take the time to comb through the fucking books so I could go fight my goddamn ticket? You've got to be kidding me. Are we at no point going to actually point at the system itself? You mean to tell me that some poor guy driving his truck with his lawnmower in the back gets dinged for a speeding ticket and he's passive because he pays it off? If he was capable of arguing a case for himself in court to defend himself against a $400 ticket, I assure you his ass wouldn't be mowing fucking lawns. Jesus Christ, somebody's on their way to work, $8 an hour at McDonald's. That person is too fucking passive. Am I the only one who's ever sat in a courtroom and seen proceedings before? I went once through a civics class in my high school. We were told to go to court. We were told to go sit in courtrooms and listen to these proceedings. The judge is a dick in every single situation that I went to. Every single one. I spent 2 days going courtroom to courtroom to courtroom. The judge was an absolute disenfranchised asshole. Not one was willing to hear anything. I seriously, one of them actually kicked me out of the courtroom because I had the sniffles and asked the person next to me if they had a tissue. I asked in as low a voice as I could. Apparently the acoustics of the goddamn room was so fucked that he could hear every single word, and it just was like nails on a chalkboard for him. If you can't maintain order, get out. I was like looking around like, who are you talking to? Like, you, young lady. I was like, really? I need to get a hold of my fucking histamines to sit in a public proceeding? Holy crap. I mean, they were just fucking assholes. The lawyers, oh my god, some of them look like, they look like, well, I'm moonlighting as a fucking used car salesman. I got a fucking grease stain on my cheap ass tie. It was just all sorts of, it was just a fucking circus. It's a joke. There's higher end law to get into. But meanwhile, there's somebody going to trial over a fucking Snickers bar. There's somebody going to trial over, these serious allegations against them. And it's just a bunch of fucking assholes. There's no, I can't, I was dumbfounded to see it at 16. If that alone, I was supposed to feel better about our system. That was the point. We got back and I was like, holy shit. That was the most tragic display of anything that could possibly be called order. Talk about, losing your faith at 16 in the system that you're supposed to be pledging your allegiance to every morning. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And so, we're passive about defending our rights. Well, the thing is that I'm not as passive if I have to pick my priorities, right? Ideological purity and and faith in the system, it's certainly not going to always outweigh everything. It might have if I've got jack shit else to do and nothing else to lose, right? Which at times I feel that way. There are times where I think if the cop caught me on the right fucking day, I might just be like, you know what, asshole? Fuck it. Get in fucking line. I got more people out for a piece of my financial ass than I care to mention right now, and you apparently just took a number. So let's just fucking go. Arrest me now, bring me in front of the fucking magistrate, and let's just fucking do this. There's days. There's absolutely, if a cop caught me on the right fucking day, I swear to God, there are days where I'm like, you know what, set the fucking world on fire. I got jack shit to lose. I'm going to kamikaze the rest of the way out of here and fuck this shit. I'm there. There's days. But I wouldn't say that everybody should be living in that state of mind all the time. There are people with families. And if it means getting back to your kids for a bullshit, for possession. For possession? Possession of what? Weed? Oh my God. Possession of a pipe that had residue of weed. I mean, Jesus Christ. So if you don't cop a plea, you do time and you're taken away from your fucking kids? You lose your job over fucking possession? Or you can take the plea. You get the fuck out and you go back to your job and you go back to your family and you just fucking roll your eyes. Am I really going to sit here and condemn the person who decides to get back to their family? No, actually. I can't be that person. So when these status assholes say, well, if you're such a great anarchist, why are you still paying taxes? Why do you use the roads? Why do you do this? Why do you expediency, mainly. But, not to say there aren't sovereigns who have managed to work it out. But I don't have enough faith in the system to believe that it's going to generate just outcomes. I don't. And maybe I just don't have enough faith in myself, or maybe I just don't have enough knowledge of the system and its inner workings. But I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want to know these things. I don't give a shit about these things. That my life, okay, is as if there weren't enough predatory assholes in the world, okay? But the very organization that's meant to protect me from the predatory assholes is my greatest predator. My mom used to sit there and brainstorm horrific levels of hypothetical situations of shit that could possibly go wrong in my life. You know what never came up? Bitch used to tell me about what if a gorilla walked in? What if this? What if your apartment just spontaneously combusted? I mean, we were coming up. She was coming up with some shit. She didn't want me to move out. You know what never crossed her mind? What if you got pulled over for a routine traffic stop and the cop didn't believe you were going for your registration and shot you, thinking he should be in fear for his life? He thought you had a gun. The likelihood of that happening higher than a gorilla walking in and setting my apartment on fire. Okay. So much faith in the system. She wouldn't even think that that was my greatest predator, and it is. I have the feds, the state, the local government, all just generally taking a piece of my ass regularly. Then I've got a court in Texas taking a piece of my ass. And then I've got cops looking for revenue who want a piece of my ass. These people have declared themselves as thieves. I am a thief. I am going to rob you regularly. And you're going to be okay with this. Those are the thieves I know, who are supposed to be protecting me from the thieves I don't know. Faith in that? Why am I so passive? I'm not passive. At this point, I'm apathetic. I give up. This is not living. This is existing. If I'm constantly trying to play an angle, if my entire life is playing an angle to see if I can get off the hook one more time, if I can protect just one more dollar, it's exhausting. That's not living. That's not what and this is what's really sad. This is what breaks my heart. You see, you see these starry-eyed people saying, "Oh, I'm going to become this. I'm going to become a doctor, and I'm going to save lives, and I'm going to go to Africa, and I'm going to save third world babies, and I'm going to do all this happy shit." And I'm just, I'm going to be that person. I'm not going to be that person. You might save a life, but you're going to lose some as well. And this person is going to have so much fucking faith in you that you're going to be able to help them and save them. And you're not going to be able to do jack shit. I did everything by the book. I am the foremost expert on blah, blah, blah. And this person just died on my table. The fuck? What the fucking dude? You're gonna be a lawyer. You're gonna have a client. You're gonna get a few off, and you're gonna give yourself a fucking high five, and you're gonna be so stoked. I'm a fucking lawyer. I fight against the man. I beat the establishment. I'm so fucking hopeful now because they threw me a few wins. And then you're gonna have this poor son of a bitch you know is fucking innocent. You know he is. But it's his word against the cop. And everything you do, you pulled out every fucking page you can. You found every form of precedent you can. You've scraped together so much fucking evidence. I mean, you've done everything. You dedicated yourself. You were anything but passive. You aggressively defended this person with everything you had, and and everything you found said this guy's getting off. He's getting off. We've got this. And this man puts his fucking faith in you and says, "You got me? I do. Just hang on. I know it sucks. I know you're sitting in a jail cell right now. I'm gonna get your ass off. I promise. I've got everything here. We've got this." Okay. All the shit that you thought was gonna win your case gets suppressed. Not allowed to present any of it. Your client loses. Now what? But I showed you all my books. I showed you all the laws. I showed you all the cases. I played by the rules. This was supposed to get him off. What happened? I was supposed to help people. I was supposed to win this. This was in the bag. I know, sweetheart. I know. You're gonna go home. You cry it out. Your client is gonna be sitting in a jail cell. And you're gonna know that that person's innocent and you couldn't do jack shit. And all this fucking faith. And all this fucking belief in the system couldn't do shit to get him out. Passive or not, his ass is exactly where he would have been if your ass never showed the fuck up. If your ass called in sick that day, he'd be no worse off. You didn't do shit. But in terms of the law of averages, I can help people. So there are people I will help. Because you're allowed to. You're the 5-year-old racing against your 15-year-old brother. Your 15-year-old brother slows down and lets you win. Do you know why? Do you know why you get a few wins in your career? Because they need to give you just the right amount of hope. It's rationed fucking hope. Contrived and everything. I beat my big brother. He's 15, I'm 5. I beat my big brother. I'm faster than him. Yeah. Yes. Go tell mom. Go tell dad. Go tell Grammy and Grampy how you beat big brother. You did it. Way to go, sport. He didn't let you win or anything. It's not like he's twice your size. And like he couldn't take 2 strides and beat your ass, but instead he pretends like he's really fighting to win, out of breath, and just at the very end, he lets you win. And it gives you that hope to come back and race again. That's why you get the win. That's why you get the win. Am I cynical? Fuck yes, I'm cynical. You win because they let you win. You don't win because of any merit. There isn't one thing based on fucking merit out here. But it keeps the faith alive, doesn't it? Keeps the faith alive. Rationing little bits of hope all over the fuck. Now, I shared this story with a lot of people, but and I'll wrap it up with this. My uncle was like uber new age, do-gooder, I want to save the world hippie dude, back in the day, back in the 60s and 70s. And he went to India and he was like, he met a guru and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna help these children. I'm gonna help end poverty here. Guru took him around from village to village and showed him everything from a leper colony to, distended bellies and flies in their eyes. He showed him a room full of kids with polio. They were just fucked up. And he says, you're not changing any of this. Yes, a wise guy, a generous, spiritual man. But he was a realist. He was a realist. You're not changing this shit. Then go home, if that's what you're thinking. You want to come out here and build character for yourself? You might help a couple of folks along the way, but mostly this is for you. Don't ever think that you're gonna solve shit out here. You're not solving shit out here. That's not the way it works. This is always gonna be here. You're gonna be long dead, as am I, and this will still be here. Nobody will be referring to the absolute destitution and the abject indigence of this area in the past tense. It's chronically fucked. I'm paraphrasing. But people still, they still eyes wide open and excited. Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And it's like, look, I'm all about ambition and I'm all about, going for what for your dreams and shooting for that shit and getting it. And, and aggressively going after the things you want in life. But the day it becomes altruistic, the day it becomes something about other than you, is the day you have officially set up the foundation for nothing but heartbreak and disappointment. Really. It's neat that people want to have these big hearts and that they believe in a system and if they believe that if they just vote harder, if they just petition and write a few more letters, if they just look up more laws, if they just there was never a way for the abused child to do anything to keep their parents from striking them. It wasn't just anything. If they just anything, the parent was going to beat their ass because they simply woke up that day. And that's who we are. We're the abused children of the state. And it's going to kick your ass whether you're diligent or not. Okay? It's not if you just anything. There's nothing you can do. It's the state of mind of an abusive parent. We live in a system like that. Putting faith in anything, in any of the rules, and any of the claims that the state makes that says you can mitigate this if you just believing that statement. That has to be the first step towards the end. Rejecting that statement is the first step towards the beginning. Have a great week. See you next time. Bye.